Hello, this is PS. Time to check out the patch 1322 PS tier list. We'll be dividing champions into tiers based on data from the KR server tiers Emerald and above. The criteria for selecting champion tiers are based on a combination of the champion's pick rate, win rate, ban rate, counter rate, and data in high elo rank. A pick rate of over 0.5% is required to be in the tier list. Let's start with top. There wasn't much for this patch changed for top, so the tier 1 lineup is pretty much the same. We're giving K'Sante an OP mark. With a 16.8% pick rate and 50.9% win rate, he's looking solid. He's literally holding his place only by his own weight class. If you have any proficiency in K'Sante, you should definitely consider playing him. Jax and Aatrox have also become a favorite pick for top solo laners, with pick rates over 10%. Yone has a 10.3% pick rate and a 48.4% win rate, but he hasn't moved above tier 2. However, when looking at the data, he's performing well enough to mark the top of the tier 2. With Jace's performance in worlds such as from T1 Zeus, we're also seeing a spike in pick rates on solo queue. However, it's unfortunate that the win rate is dropping at the same time as the pick rate is increasing. The pick rate is 7.8% and the win rate is 47.8%. Still, that powerful Jace I saw in worlds, I can't help wanting to try it out. If you really want to try out Jace, try to follow the item tree in the order of Duskblade Manamune Serylda's. Zeus's Jace, who dominated against LNG, was also based on Duskblade. And Duskblade can also be seen in Zeus's games recently in solo queue, but the data is still skewed toward Eclipse for top Jace's mainstream build. If Zeus is boosting Jace's pick rate, yesterday WBG The Shy made top Graves get sampled on solo queue, but here we still have a 0.6% pick rate and a 46.4% win rate, so it's making us feel like, oh, this is a pick that only the big boys can use. The honey champs are K'Sante and Jax. There is no champion that will take the OP mark. Instead, Graves and Lee Sin share tier 1. Last time we checked, Graves was in first place in the Fallen Champs video. Even though we said he's been nosediving, he's still good, so rest assured. A few asked, why do you want me to use him when he was ranked first in the Fallen Champs? To respond to that, just coming down from the Celestial Realm to the human world was a shock. Until the last patch, it was Graves who had the most ridiculous weight class and seemed most unreasonable, but now that he's been nerfed, he's down to a normal tier 1 pick with a 17.4% pick rate and a 50.3% win rate. The other tier 1 champion, Lee Sin, has a 25% pick rate and a 49.5% win rate, so even though they're both in tier 1, depending on the composition, playing against them might still be worth a try. So I think it's safe to say that Jarvan, Karthus, Briar and Talia on the tier list right now are in tier 1.5. Karthus got his basic attack missile speed buffed. And even if you disregard that, Talia got a basic attack speed buff, which you can't ignore. Thanks to this, she now has a 7.6% pick rate and a 51.1% win rate, showing a significant jump in the rankings. Meanwhile, Briar, despite getting nerfed this patch, still has a pick rate of 5.6% and a win rate of 51.3%, and she's still proving to be a good jungle champion to use in solo queue. Rammus got a buff to his W, and it's working out better than expected. He has a 2.3% pick rate and a 52.4% win rate. If you can pick Rammus in a favorable composition, he could be a much trickier opponent than his stats indicate. For jungle, we're keeping an eye on Ivern as well. He's got a 2% pick rate and a 54.4% win rate. However, Ivern is a champion with a pretty unique playstyle, so we're just going to go over the stats today. We'll have a fuller look at Ivern in a future interview, hoping he can join as your new honey champion. Here's a honeybee mark to Graves, Briar, Talia and Ivern. Lots of tier 1 champs. Among these, the OP marks go to Silas and Orianna, and one more OP mark for Silas. We know in our heads that he's a limited champion in laning, but right now in solo queue, Silas has no weaknesses. What this means is that he's already gone over the original intention of the champion design. That's why he's showing a very high pick rate of 15% in mid, with a win rate of 51.2%. If the Silas nerf isn't finalized by the next patch, by the end of the year, we think Silas will take over as one of the best cheats in solo queue. Especially Electrocute Silas, a pick that's overwhelming to play against. Orianna is amazing in a different way. She's gone from a 20% pick rate in the mid lane to 21.5%. Orianna is even more overpowered in Worlds. This patch gave buffs to a lot of mid laners, but it wasn't enough to change the tier 1 lineup. But it still meant something. The main beneficiary is Zoe or Twisted Fate in the Tier 2 lineup. Zoe has a 2.8% pick rate and a 51.2% win rate, and Twisted Fate has a 3.8% pick rate and a 51.5% win rate. Especially Twisted Fate, who hasn't been able to spread his wings lately, despite getting buffed multiple times, got a boost from the attack wind-up buff, which was a significant buff. Xerath is now able to reliably mark Tier 2 with the buff. He has a 3.3% pick rate and a 51% win rate, which is pretty good for a champion that relies heavily on autos. His data has gone up noticeably. For other mage champions who have got significant buffs, such as Veigar and Syndra, we've seen both big and small increases in rankings. Syndra has a 7.1% pick rate and 49.5% win rate, while Veigar has a 1.6% pick rate and 51% win rate. All in all, we're seeing that the previously strong mid champions are staying in Tier 1. So we can summarize that the huge mage patch has allowed a lot of mages to enter tiers 2 and 3. The honey champs are Sylas, Akshan and Nico. We'll give Sylas the hive mark. We'll give Ziggs an OP mark. Despite getting nerfed and having his data drop, his OP marks didn't fall off. He has a 7.8% pick rate and a 52.8% win rate, which is definitely a drop in his prominent data. But he's got a 41% ban rate, which just shows how tricky bot players feel playing against Ziggs right now. Ezreal hasn't been tackled, so he's still putting up monstrous data. He has a 27% pick rate and a 51.3% win rate. Bot has been impacted quite a bit by Worlds, and we're seeing some cases of picks going up despite not being patched. Kalista has been hovering around a pick rate of 5%, but her pick rate has recently moved up to 7%. Her win rate is balanced at 50%. Varus is a pick that's been in the spotlight since Worlds quarterfinals, so actually, after the quarterfinals on November 6th, the pick rate really skyrocketed. And recently he's been moving up another notch. Even with this pick trend, he's still hovering around a 50% win rate, so he's ready to be picked by more users. While Kraken Slayer Guinsoo's is the main build, the Blade of the Ruined King Guinsoo's build has its own merits, and should be considered as well. After a strong performance in Worlds quarterfinals, Nyla was nerfed and crashed in solo queue. This was a pick that had a low pick rate, but always had a high win rate, but now she's having the toughest time since launch with a 2% pick rate and 49.7% win rate. Maybe you should put Neela on hold for a while and consider other champs. The honey champs are Ziggs, Ezreal, Asha and Jean. We'll give Ezreal a hive mark. We'll give Raken and Blitz the OP mark. These two are in a class of their own among the tier 1 champs. Actually, the champions in 3rd, 4th and 5th place are doing really well, but Raken and Blitz are what you might call overbalanced. Those high numbers. Let's take a brief second to just appreciate them. Xerath, who's gotten a taste of a rise in rank in the mid lane, has also seen an uptick in the top lane. He's got a 7.1% pick rate and a 51.5% win rate. Especially in bot lane, every single basic attack is really important. It's been a booster patch for him, so his win rate and pick rate are going up, and his power curve has a nice peak at the right time. Based on tiers bronze to platinum, he's at a 9.1% pick rate and 52.4% win rate, which is a tier 1 and even an OP performance. So a lot of bot players are going to see him a lot. We would like to highlight one more deal support in tiers bronze to platinum. Zera's performance has also been very good lately. It's funny because Zera wasn't on the list for this patch. Her performance is the same as the last patch, but she has a 5.2% pick rate and 53.7% win rate in tiers bronze to platinum, and a 4.3% pick rate and 51.9% win rate in tiers emerald and above. If you're a deal support user, you might want to center your compositions around Xerath and Zera. As you go down the tiers, you're going to have a hard time with these two, and the best partner for that is Jean. Jean was the one who silently got the honeybee mark earlier, so just check that this context was included. Let's wrap up with Bard, who's had a great day today. Bard has a 2.9% pick rate and a 52.8% win rate on solo queue. We'll give Raken and Blitz the hive marks, and Thresh and Xerath the honeybee marks. That concludes our PS tier list for patch 13.22. We hope you found this video helpful. Thank you.